Hi guys, it's Phil in the Philippines on Phil and Jen in the Philippines, and thanks for joining me for this next video. Just before I start, a big shout out. I'm overwhelmed at the amount of people that have watched the videos, as bad as they are, and I've got a few subscribers now, which I'm absolutely tickled pink with. This YouTube thing can be a little bit addictive, and I take great pleasure in opening up the phone or the computer and finding out that, hey, for whatever reason, some people out there, your good selves, are enjoying or something. At least they're taking up part of their day to look at these videos. And I really appreciate it. And thank you. One big shout out I must remember to do is I have my first, I believe it's my first female subscriber. I think it was at 61. I had 61 subscribers, and one of those happened to be a lady, because on my analytics it said it's 100% men. And shout out to you, Jenny. Jenny, similar to wife. It's not my wife, by the way. She didn't subscribe, but Jenny, you know who you are out there, and I really appreciate it. And I hope that I can do something that entertains you. And for all my friends, in the United States, my new friends that have subscribed to the channel, thank you very much, gentlemen. I will keep referring to you as Yanks, even though you're maybe from the South or whatever the case may be. But I'm just an ignorant ex-convict stock Aussie, so forgive me for that. Today's theme for the video is what is going to, I guarantee you, drive you crazy in one form or another when you eventually come to the Philippines over a 2-year period. And I say 2 years because on the whole, speaking to a lot of expats that are living here, it takes approximately 2 years to adjust to this place. Hopefully, by me telling you these things and pointing out things that you're going to run into, I may be able to reduce that time period where you will adjust. And if you haven't adjusted in a 2-year period, you've got to look at it and say, well, maybe this place isn't for you. And for my Filipino viewers, of which I was quite surprised. I've got a lot of great Filipino viewers over there who comment, and I'm really appreciative of that. Please, in anything I say, it's not knocking the Philippines. As an example with this, it may sound that I am, but I am not, because all my videos are really gauged towards Western guys and Western travelers that are coming here, and hopefully, if I tell the truth and tell them what's going on, the pre-warned is pre-armed, or pre-armed is pre-warned, or whatever, however the saying goes. So I am 100% pro Philippines, but there are certain things that go on in this country that drive new people crazy simply because they don't understand why it happens. They don't understand that it's such an alien situation, doesn't matter what it is, and I'll point those out during the video. And it's infuriating unless I realize, hey, this is not an isolated incident. This happens everywhere, and I've got to get used to it. So, okay, these are the things that are going to drive you crazy, as I said, and we'll break it down. We'll break it down into about the first, I suppose, month to 6 weeks, when somebody arrives and they've decided, yep, this place is, I'm going to give this a crack. And you may go on accommodation somewhere where you're paying on a week-to-week basis until you find a more permanent residence, but we'll go into that at a later time. For the first month to 6 weeks, you are really 100% enthusiastic, because you don't want to say to yourself, oops, I've made a mistake. So you look at everything bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You look at it like, I'm on a holiday here, I've got pockets full of money, the sights, the smells, the sounds are all alien but fantastic, and this adventure started. And so you will overlook or not notice some of these things, which will later, let me tell you, drive you crazy. So here we go. And, another thing, hope you realised I've taken the glasses off. I can't see a bloody thing without them, but I did realise that with this backlighting that I've got going at the moment, it reflects up there and it looks like 2 bloody donuts staring at you. So I took them off. And this is another thing, before I get back onto it, I've realised that if I've got to look at my mobile phone where the lens is, which is on the top, as everyone knows, rather than look at the screen, which I'm very tempted to do, because then it looks like I'm looking off into the distance, like I'm looking for Jesus to return. So there are a couple of things that I'm trying to get better at. Right, as I was saying, first 6 weeks, everything fantastic, wonderful. anything that does happen that's negative, oh, that's quaint, and you're willing to put up with it. Then you decide, okay, I've got a more permanency. I've got to start doing the normal things and normal living, like find an apartment or decide on buying something, or whatever it happens to be, after that 6-week period. And you seriously start to lay down roots, find out where things are, find out the type of things you've got to do, you know, all the mundane, everyday things. And this is where everything starts to go horribly wrong as far as a Western is concerned. And they're little tiny things. Someone, I made mention of service in this country, where, you know, it gets done, don't get me wrong. But to the level of which Americans and Canadians and Australians and New Zealanders expect, because that's what they're given at home, it's not at that level. So, you know, this is one of the reasons that it's infuriating. As a typical example of this, let's start off at the most basic things that drives me crazy even today, although I've got to check myself and realise this. Let's take Jollibee, which is, for those who don't know, Jollibee is the McDonald's of the Philippines. Having said that, there is still McDonald's here, there's still KFC, there's still most of the US backed food outlets are here and throughout the Philippines. And of course they're set up the same way because McDonald's led the way, and now they have drive-through and things like that. The most ludicrous thing here is in regard to drive-through. Now, we all presume that things like McDonald's and KFC is, as we say, fast food, and that's what they were developed for. So it never ceases to amaze me every time I go through a drive-through here, to say for instance Jollibee, which is very rarely. It's usually when I've got the kids on board and whatever. You go up to the window, the girl's very polite, and they're always very polite here. You're not going to get any rude people, and it's yes sir, no sir, yes madam, no madam, which unto itself can become annoying again, and I'll pick that up later on in the video. You give your order, and it's a burger joint, and you say, I happen to like typically Australian type hamburger with, I know you're all going to yell and scream at me, especially in the States, but we have a burger with pineapple on it. I know, and please don't get on to me about we also like it on our pizzas. So, you order that, which is one of their premium products in a Jollibee, and I can tell you right now, only through experience, the girl's going to lean through the window and say, yes sir, we can do that sir for you, but it's going to take 20 minutes. You know, it's a fast food joint. This is a premium product that they have, and they advertise it on TV and whatever, and yet you've got to wait 20 minutes. So, you know, the object of the exercise, what I'm trying to say is, but we all know the theory. You go through a drive-through, it takes a couple of minutes, you get it through the window, you hit the frog and toad, and you're away. That doesn't happen here. Then you've got the added stress of getting out of the drive-through, going to the parking bay and waiting in the heat, or running the car with the air conditioning going and whatever. You might as well have got out, gone inside, and fought through the throngs of people and the throngs of staff, got your meal and go. Now, the second thing that will drive you crazy is the Philippines is notorious for getting an order wrong. I would say I would have far more wrong orders delivered to me from anything. I'm not just talking about fast food. I'm talking about if you order from good restaurants, bad restaurants, or whatever, it's highly likely they will stuff up the order. Now, I don't know why. Possibly it could be my accent and whatever, but you know, this happens also to my wife when she's speaking in Tagalog or Visayan or whatever language that they're speaking in, and they still stuff it up. Whether it's a lack of concentrating on the detail of their position, whether they don't really want to be there and they're going through the motions, I don't know. But that's one thing, and I'm sure all you guys out there, especially American guys, it will drive you crazy. And even worse, if you've gone through a drive-through and you're driving home, you know, and then you find you've got to turn around. Now, the turn round things, these are another thing. You turn around and go back, it's going to be hell's own to make sure you go up to the window and say, listen, I didn't get my Hawaiian burger, I didn't get my Jollibee, my this, my that. They'll ask you to have the receipt, so for God's sake, do not throw away a single receipt when you're in this country. Even when you give the receipt, it's very difficult to get, after you've left, any form of refund. You might as well give away on a refund. Once a fellow business has got your money, they will move heaven and earth never to give you the money back. So they may give you a credit. They might just say, I'm sorry, sir, you know, it's not our policy. Policy is the big thing here. Now, let's analyze this. we're talking about a couple of buck burger, and it's going to ruin your night. You're going to be pulling your hair out. You're going to be absolutely off your brain. You're going to be screaming, ranting, raving at the little girl, the little boy at the window, and which aren't responsible for it. I know it happens in the States, in Australia, and we do have a tendency to take it out on people which are directly in front of us, and then we ask for the manager. Now, this is the other thing. You can ask for managers all day long, and you're not going to get anywhere. They don't particularly care. I went into that in another video, but let's take it from me. The managers don't care, so you're not going, and all that's going to do is build the pressure up even further when you realise that they're saying exactly the same thing as the young person on the window said. Yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. And they can say sir until the cows come home, but the reality is it's not part of the policy of that particular company to do whatever you're requesting. You're not going to get it, so you're not going to convince them to change, so you might as well move on. My suggestion, again, another suggestion is, look, I know it's a pain in the ass, but you've got to check everything here, from appliances you buy, check everything, because as soon as you walk out that door, the warranty on the food or the warranty on anything, that's as far as the warranty goes, those doors. So keep that in mind. Shopping is another thing, because this is number 2, and the small things. You'll go into a place, and we're not even talking about the 500 people who are behind the counter. I don't know what the hell they do back there, but there's this myriad of people always behind counters, and they're always talking and they're always laughing, and you'll sit back there while they're attempting to assist you. They're doing more talking to their friends than they are concentrating on the work. And this is going to infuriate you because you're hot and bothered. You want to get out of the joint. You just want your order finished or whatever it happens to be, and yet you perceive these people as talking to everybody, and they do. They're a vocal people. This is the reason, I think, for half the mistakes in orders and service and whatever. They concentrate. Again, it's a cultural thing that, as not to lose face, so they talk to people. So you will be standing there as a Westerner thinking, first, like I did, if you were my employer, I'd have you out the door so quick, because you're not concentrating on what you're being paid to do. Again, you're not going to change this. You are not going to change this. So when you pull up water off a duck's back, you've got to stand there, go through the motions. If it goes on too long, I'm sure your wife or girlfriend will butt in and say, excuse me, can you do this and can you do that? But if you immediately hit, explosion mode, you're not going to get anywhere. In fact, like if you start raising your voice, you gather a crowd, and then security will come over, and then all this type of thing. And you are always wrong in this country. You must keep a calm demeanour. As you could be absolutely Mount bloody Vesuvius inside, but you've got. And if you can't keep a calm demeanour, hand it over to your girlfriend and walk away. Because you're doing a couple of things to your girlfriend or your wife by we Westerners going off our tits. You're embarrassing your wife or your girlfriend. We expect them to side with us, but that's not the case, because culturally they don't do that. You don't draw attention to yourself. You don't do a million and one things that Westerners, we think if we scream loud enough and we're in the right, things are going to turn out and in our favour. Well, let me tell you, that goes all out the window in this country. It doesn't happen. So keep calm, keep your voice down, go through it. Don't call them the idiot. Don't call them this, don't call them that. Because 9 times out of 10, they are as hamstrung as you are. They're being watched by their superiors. They have a policy set in place, set by other people. And because they don't like confrontation, management doesn't want to come down there and argue with you. They just keep slipping back into, that's the policy, that's the policy, that's the policy. As an example of this, I was at the bank the other day, and an Afro-American guy, or is it, African-American, that's the right terminology, but which is a lot of bullshit, but on the same, an African-American guy came down, and he was obviously a Muslim guy because he was married to a Filipino in a hijab. And he was trying to do a transaction, and it wasn't working, and they required, he wasn't on a permanent residency visa. What he was doing, by the sound of things, and if you're watching, I'm not going to mention names or anything, but this was a good example as I sat there in the bank waiting. He had to have his like, it's like a permanent tourist card. You get after about the third time you extend your visa, they ask you to, or they tell you, you have to get this particular card, which allows you to do things like open bank accounts and whatever, because they realise you're probably here for 3 years. And that really becomes your ID. It shows your address and whatever. So that's your ID as a tourist. Now, you can't transfer or take money out in large sums unless you have this particular piece of identification. Now, from what I gather from the conversation, this guy was applying for permanent residency through marriage, obviously, in the Philippines. And one thing he's got to do with immigration, he's got to hand this card over, and it goes with all his documents. Now, what had happened was that he'd obviously given them the card, then he went to get money out of the bank, and he can't take money out of, I'm not talking about small amounts, he obviously wanted to pull a fair amount out or transfer a fair amount. But anyway, it was the policy, I won't mention the bank, of this particular bank, that, whoop, sorry, I've knocked, forgive me, the bugs aren't worked out. Anyway, he was getting more and more agitated to the point of saying, give me all my money, I want to close my... You can't even close the account without that particular piece of paper. They're trying to explain to him that it's not the policy, it's the law, it's this. Whether it's the law, I don't know. It's the way they operate. And he couldn't get through it. And it was 100%... He could have been an Aussie, he could have been a Canadian, he could have been an American. That's how we react to everything when we don't get our own way. And we don't understand the lunacy of some of the things that they have in place here. So, of course, we get exasperated and annoyed. This is the type of thing that's going to happen. I sat there like I'd been there a while. I knew it was going to take a while, so I just sat there smiling with the legs crossed, watching what was going on around me and being, quite honestly, at his expense, being entertained like you wouldn't believe. Eventually, I came in second. I still got served and left, and he is still jumping up and down like a mad pork chop, and he's getting nowhere. And I'll tell you right now, he can jump up and down and threaten all he wants and threaten to close the accounts and do all those things. They do not care. So, he's gone through all this aggravation. His blood pressure's gone through the roof and whatever. You've just got to cop it here. On a more personal level, which drives me crazy, and another couple of things that will drive you crazy, is things like things you have to do which take forever. Where we come from, you can pick up the phone or get onto the computer and do 99.99% of whatever you want to do in any form of monetary transaction to any utility, all on the net, all everywhere. It's all convenience orientated to a degree, unless you've got a problem, and then you get on the automated treadmill. But let's say, for instance, everything's going well, you pay your bills, you do this, you do that, a lot of things happen. Here, there's none of that. Okay, as the most basic example, not one government department has an active telephone number that I have found. There's obviously immigration does and things like that, but like your electrical provider, your sewerage, all the government departments you would expect to be able to be contacted are non-contactable. Non-contactable. If you've decided to do something, whether it be RTA or whomever, you've got to get in very early because they all work are very similar or the same systems. Whereas you get there in the morning, you pick up a number, and that number dictates to you when you're going to get served. And what happens, because that's the only system, and it might only be for an inquiry, but the guard at the door will say you have to pick a number and you've got to sit in a seat and wait. And that is when you get in the building. Don't be surprised at all these government buildings. There's a great big long queue at the front door, because in this country, another thing that drives me crazy is you've got a queue for everything. That's, like it's the stories of old the Soviet Union. You queue for almost everything here. And in the example I'm giving you now, you're queuing on the outside of government buildings, and the security guard, you might have 20, 30, 40, 50 chairs inside, and he will let you in as the chairs fill up and obviously empty as they go, as the customers leave. So do not expect to wander and say, oh, look, I'll whiz down the RTA or the Transit Authority or whomever the Yankees have and the Canadians have, and motor transport authorities, to get a license, to get my registration, whatever. I'll just slip in the door. It's going to take an hour or so. It's not going to happen. You've got to get there sometime hours before it even starts. And most of the government apartments, they open around 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm not 100% sure on all of them, but around that time. But don't be surprised if they start queuing, the local population start queuing, an hour or two, maybe, longer, depending on what they're doing and what department it is, to get in the door. Then you get in the door and then you've got to wait, this agonising wait, even for an inquiry. If you're lucky and your wife's forward enough and the inquiry's small enough, she will whiz over to one of the counters and slip in, look, we're only here for this, and see what the reaction is. The reaction will either be, yes, madam, take a seat and wait, or the girl might take pity, or the guy might take pity and say, realising you're with a Westerner, because they try to accommodate Westerners. I'll do that for you, or go and get that piece of paper, or whatever. Otherwise, you're sitting there all day. Do not be surprised if you're number 86 or 56 and whatever and time marches on, it gets to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the security guard or a manager comes out and says, okay, everybody, sorry, this is all we can do today because we're about to knock off. And you're sitting there, hold on, I've got 3 people to go before I'm served. I've been here all day. That means nothing as well. Come back tomorrow, they'll say. Now, the same process has to take place again tomorrow. I don't think that the number you're holding today will get you in the same position as it will tomorrow. You've got to line up again. These things drive you crazy. And these are the reasons why a lot of Westerners look at fixers, what they call fixers over here. People you employ that professionally go and wait in line on your behalf with all your paperwork, and for a fee will go and do all this for you. But it's becoming less and less. The government are trying to crack down on fixers. But what they're trying to do and what they say they're trying to do are two different things here, and there's still plenty of fixers available. And usually if you get a good fixer, they can, for the 500 pesos that they're going to do it, it's just worth your health and sanity to let them do it. Normal shopping. Let's say, for instance, let's get a little bit lighter, but we have what I call the floaters. And that's not what it sounds like. The floaters to me are this. When you go to Robinson's, a supermarket, or SM, a supermarket, or Lee's, a supermarket, all these type of mall-type supermarket things, to go in and do your shopping, whether it be for dry goods or for food or whatever, there will be a myriad of people in there, usually with kids, which, like old fellas, that drives you crazy if there's kids screaming, pulling at things. But on the same token too, you might be one of these kumbaya type people that love kids. I tolerate them. So that's being honest. But the floaters, they will stand in the middle of the aisles and they will, glance around and wander at a speed that, is almost glacial, gazing and looking like, and they'll see things in the shop. They have no intention of buying 9 times out of 10. Taking up space in the aisles, looking like kittens with tin foil. And then you'll get up behind them, try to pass, because the aisles here aren't wide like we're used to. If you're in a decent place, it might be 5 or 6 feet wide or 5 feet wide, and there's not a huge amount of space. And they'll have a kid either side, or a kid will be carrying something, or a basket, and they will prop in the middle of the place and look. We, because of our situation, will see out the corner of our eyes and then move in so the person can pass. This type of thing doesn't happen here. They just prop and look. The same thing as they do on the roads. They just prop and look and prop and look. And these are some of the things that'll drive you absolutely spare. But, again, think of my voice saying, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen regularly and every time you go out, and it will never change. And that's not even going into what I said beforehand, getting out of that bloody shop. If you understand what I'm saying, these are the types of things that you are going to run into on a day-to-day basis. And if you can't put up with it or adjust to it, there's 2 ways to adjusting, and a lot of the expats do it here. They stay home and drink and drown their sorrows, and then they become mean and miserable and complaining. Or they adapt, 3, they adapt, mellow out and think, okay, Sarah, you're not going to change it, let's just move on, and start to move with the flow of this country and stress less. Realise that nothing's easy in this country. The day-to-day things aren't easy until you get into there's There's shortcuts everywhere, but you've got to find out those shortcuts. But everything we take for granted in our countries, service, availability, comfort, does not exist here. You have 105 million people, the majority of which aren't rich. So when they go shopping, they make sure that they look and read labels and check things and try things and whatever, because their money is very difficult to get hold of. And they want the cheapest possible price. And of course, they can go out for 2 items, and they remember there's not that much to do in this country with no money, as with everywhere. So they treat it like an experience. They look at new things. They I suppose in their minds that they make a mental note that one day they'll get this or something like that. They window shop, but actual shopping, they may only have 2 items, but that will fill in an entire day. And understanding that will make life a lot easier for you. If you can't handle that, wife, girlfriend, come here, you go and do that. Drop her off out at the front unless you're required there personally. Let her do her thing. By this time she'll have a phone. You go somewhere, whether it be home or sit in a park or have a beer or do whatever you want to do. Stay out of it, or mellow up, one or the other. Now, there's absolutely a million things that will drive you crazy here. I can't even see the timer on the top of this video, so I don't know if this has gone too long. If you like this type of content, and you want to know more, because I can literally talk all day on what will drive you crazy in this type of place. You've got to start from scratch. Nothing is like it is at home. And please, don't argue. Don't try to change this country. You will not be able to do it. You won't be able to change this country. Oh, right out. Let's get off that, because I was asked by one of the viewers or whatever in regard to them possibly coming over and what they should do and bring. A lot of expats that come to the country go to a great expense to transport stuff they're comfortable with, from motorcycles to God knows what. Look, let me tell you, it's not worth the aggravation. Let's take a motorcycle, for instance. They come over, they want to bring a motorcycle with them, a particular type and whatever. It's a second-hand motorbike. It may only be worth 2 or 3 grand in your own country, if that. But over here, they look at it as a commodity that's very expensive, especially if it's more than about 175 cc's. Because I know a lot of Americans like to bring Harleys and whatever they've got, some big thumping bloody thing over. Unless you're immigrating here or you have a retirement visa, you've got to pay import duty. And the import duty, the scale of import duty is very, very difficult, because it really relies on whomever is on duty that day to estimate what he thinks you should pay in duty. Because, the variances between where this comes in and who's on duty that day and whatever. So it's not unusual to pay double the price, if not more, of what you consider the bike to be worth to bring it into the country. And of course you pay it because it's here now. But if you actually look around, you can usually obtain most things here if you have a look around. So if you wanted a Harley, there's Harleys here. There's you might have to pay for it, but by the time you pay for shipping, your import duty and whatever, way up. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying way up the costs, and get all those before you decide to have a sudden rush to the head and send all this crap out here. What I would suggest you do send out, and you do it in a Bellic buy-in box. Bellic buy-in boxes, as most people would know, and if you don't, just ask me in the comments and whatever, are boxes that are sent out. And since Duterte got in, he made it illegal for anyone to open those particular boxes, because they're really designed for overseas fellow workers. So without getting into the technicalities, now you're over here, you can still use the Bellic buy-in box system. So with this tea-chest size box, cardboard box, weight's not an obstacle and whatever. So weight not being an obstacle, it's just the area. And it comes by sea, and it takes, say, 3 months from wherever you're going, depending on how far away you live, or your home country is. But if you're going to bring anything over here, tools are probably the best. I'm not talking about power tools, just hand tools. Everything is made in China here, unless you pay through the nose. And a lot of good American brands are not available here, whatever. So if you're a bit handy and you're coming out, you know, and you've got some Sid Chrome this or Tool King that, or whatever the good brands are in the United States and Canada and whatever, and you've got a set at home, plonk them in a box. Things that you can, I'm not talking about bench saws and whatever. If you've got some electrical saws, the other thing is remember the variances in currents here. I think we run 210 or something, I might be wrong. But at home in Australia it's 240 volt. I think it's 210 here. It doesn't matter if it's 110, whatever it happens to be, because the amount of brownouts we get here, and because most of the electrical system is not surge compatible. I know a lot of expats get surge arresters in their houses and on their equipment. It's still not a guarantee to save this stuff. The majority of stuff you bring out, if you bring big TVs out and all the knickknacks from the United States and Australia and whatever, will last about, maybe a little bit longer, about 12 or 18 months before they shit themselves. It's got to do with the humidity in the air, it's got to do with a million and one things. So if you're investing a lot of money in tools and want to bring it out here, you're probably only extending their life here 12 or 18 months. That's if it's not knocked off in the meantime. But things like hand tools, like screwdrivers, chisels, all the things a handyman would use, spanners, ratchets, shifters, you know, like whack them in a box, take pliers, all that type of thing. Good quality stuff. Don't buy the shitty stuff. It's not worth transporting, but good stuff, bring it out. That's what I'd suggest as well. Got off the subject, but anyway, I thought you'd want to know that. Rightio, as I said, if you like the content, subscribe, give me a comment, and thank you once again to everybody out there that's subscribed. I don't know if I'm going to be successful doing this bullshit or not, but I'm having a lot of fun, and I love the comments, and it makes my day terribly exciting. You have no idea. In fact, I'm not getting much sleep at the moment because I keep waking up and checking if I've got any more subscribers. But I really love it. I promise you, I'm trying to make this a little bit better and easier on your eye. But we'll leave it for now. As I said, I don't know how long this video is. I don't want to bore you to death. I'll put another one on if people want to see this type of content. As I said, there's a million and one things that'll drive you crazy. If you've got any specific questions, only too happy to ask. From Jen, who will be, you know what Jen told me? She said, if you get 1,000 views on a single video, she will come online. So in my next video, I'll show you photos of Jen and the kids, so you'll know who it is when she pops online and whatever, and it'll give you a better understanding of my family unit. Anyway, guys, thank you again so much. I will see you in the next video. Appreciate the support. You've got no idea. Subscribe, share with your friends, abuse me, thumbs up, thumbs down. Thanks again. Cheers for now.